on the Gold Coast in the south of Brisbane. We are here with day number 2, the last of the open qualifiers that we'll actually be covering, because that's all the open qualifiers that we've got. Of course, this is day number 2 of the Oceania / rest of Asia region open qualifiers. I'm your host, Yaku of the Zaku, and with me today is el ex profesional de los deportes electrónicos no especificado que decidió convertirse en protagonista del anime, Light_VIP. How we doing, Light?
Otherwise known as an otaku. But yes,
see.
Yes, welcome back everyone to day number 2, qualifier number 2 of the Oceania region. And I believe as you may have been alluding to, this is the final open qualifier of every single region. All the other regions are done. This is the last one, and mate, things are popping off. One of these players we followed the entire day yesterday. We saw his entire run up until its finale, and now, mate, we're back, and it's a sequel.
Part 2 here on Lightshade LE. We're in the bottom right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have the red Terran player, probably the most formidable Terran player coming out from Australia, and I'm including Caesar in that, if I'm being honest. Two of them are very neck and neck at this point. He is going to be representing Team Opus V, coming down around that Sydney-ish area. Not quite Sydney proper, but around that sort of state, that sort of region, province, kingdom. He is Piglet, El Chanchito.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the Australian Zerg player representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Oreo.
Once again, Funara seeding.
Man, you say Funara seeding, I am excited. I love to see brackets like this because you know what? Yesterday we had Peppy versus Piglet, and now we have the other matchup that I've really wanted, especially because this is a series that, I believe, if I'm not wrong, I believe they're going to be avoiding each other in the ANZ Champs group stage, as they are in completely... Yes, they are in completely different groups, but now we get to see what would happen when they face each other.
I suppose so. Again, a little bit unfortunate that they're facing each other in the first round instead of in a qualifying match, which is a best of 5, or even just the second round, you know, when all the players are a little bit more warmed up. We're throwing them right off the deep end. Piglet against the best Zerg player in Australia. Oreo against the arguable, you can't really call him the best Terran player from Australia, because again, results-wise, Caesar is definitely on top. But, I mean, I still look at Piglet. I still look at his run yesterday, and I think, yeah, when he's on point, he is terrifying.
I think what's important is that I think what we're looking at, and maybe this is an ambitious statement, but this is like the future of the ANZ StarCraft scene right here. Piglet.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, Piglet and Oreo, the next generation, if you will. Caesar and XZ, Probe, step aside.
I mean, XZ is already stepped aside.
So is Caesar and Probe, man. I mean, oh my god. Jokes aside, I do love both of these players, and I want them both to do well, which is also why it is unfortunate that, you know, here they are in the first round. One will immediately be eliminated by the open qualifier. Oh boy.
The brutality, mate.
Exactly.
I know what that means, right?
What does that mean?
Whoever doesn't make it through wins ANZ Champs. Unless Oreo's the one who makes it through, in which case he wins ANZ Champs and he qualifies for DreamHack.
Oh god. No bias. Oh god, but we'll see how this goes. I think what's important to note, and another reason why I'm excited about this, one, Peppy versus Piglets was a very different matchup. Oreo, he's a very different kind of player here. Oreo wants to go to those later stages of the game, and if he does see that mech is on the way, he will punish that, but ooh, already the first queen does get picked off, and we are seeing Piglet do a very familiar opening from yesterday, going for that BC.
Yeah, here's hoping Oreo at least looked at a couple of the VODs from yesterday. It was less than 24 hours ago, so yeah, that's another element that makes these Opal qualifiers so brutal. At least in Taiwan, Hong Kong, or the Chinese qualifiers, you have 1 day to look at some of your potential opponents and think, okay, this is how I want to play against them.
Yeah, the brutality of just back-to-back qualifiers like this, and especially because Oreo was competing yesterday and of course needed time to rest and recuperate, means that the likelihood of him watching Peppy versus Piglet isn't very high. It's not impossible, but it isn't very high, so it's a little bit worrisome. We'll see how he deals with this as the Hellions are trying to find a way into a mineral line. Lings are waiting, but they're gonna dive in.
And they will find it. But doesn't want to risk it while the Lings are still in effect. Once again, though, the mineral lines are very good of a choke point to use, but then again, it's also a really good place to sandwich your opponent's Hellions.
It's a good place to die, mate, as every single Hellion gets picked up. The queens weren't even necessary, as we do see the lair was very quick. I was about to point that out. We do see Piglet realizing that, and it's a quick lair for a quick hive. Sorry, Spire.
Yeah. Now you're doing the things that we non-Zerg players do. We mix up the Spire and the lair.
Teleport across the map. There you go. The PC is here across the map, ready to dive in. The queen's already nicely split between the third base and the main base, so this PC is going to have a bit of a hard time finding some damage. The queen?
I'm not convinced these are going to be enough queens, especially since the high energy queen is starting to get really low, but apparently it is. All right.
There you go, man. 3 queens with plenty of energy for transfuse and some spores as an anchor point are all you need as the BC gets pushed away. And this is why the BC opener was so important that we were pointing out, because it is leading into mech.
I would say strap ourselves in, but as you were saying, Oreo is definitely a very reactive player. As long as he's able to scout that mech is on the way, he should be reacting and looking to punish that as quickly and as swiftly as possible.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things about mech, is that bioplay is so much more common. So just figuring out that your opponent is going mech, like that's a major part of things already.
Oreo's actually completely skipping the Corruptus here. He's kind of calling Piglet's bluff, which isn't really a bluff because Piglet is now making a third BC.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll
going
need
for
a couple of Corruptors later on, but
yeah. I mean, going for mutas right now is fine. We do see a scan though, and oh god, Piglet does confirm the Spire, so he's well aware of the threat of mutas. That is why Thors and Widowmites are already on the way. We should be seeing some missile turrets soon, but of course he's waiting for the NG Bay to finish up.
Yeah, I guess that's one consideration when you're going for mech. You're not getting the eBay.
Yeah.
At the time you normally have it, so missile turrets will be a bit delayed, and we see how impactful that can really be!
Exactly, as 4 SCVs do get picked off here in the main base. The Thor wasn't ready yet, but the mutas are forced all the way back. What's also important is that Oreo confirms that, hey, there are 3 BCs. Like, there is a commitment into them.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get a couple of Corruptors. I don't want to overmake them, but I do need a little bit of them. No missile turret being made here to natural base. There's a Thor, and that is enough to chase away the Mutalisk. The mines will clean up the weakened ones. That's going to be the end of this particular harass from Oreo.
Yeah, just like that, 3 mutas get picked off right off the back from those Widow Mines. Beautifully placed there by Piglet. Meanwhile, Oreo, he is not stopping. Nothing but mutas are going to come out from this man. Not just mutas, to be fair. We do see that he's setting up to get infestors. I imagine we're going to be seeing some neural parasite as well to help deal with the BCs and the Thors. But yeah, he is putting a lot of faith in his control of mutas.
Yeah, he's definitely thinking pretty far ahead, trying to get the spellcasters, as you were saying. Hive is on the way, but what I'm more excited in light is Oreo just finished up a whole bunch of Lings. I want to see him turn them into Banelings and just go for these massive Baneling run-bys that we know him to do.
I'm sure that is going to be upon us here, especially at this third base. He has to be careful because there is a tank, but he may be able to set himself up for one later. Yeah, only one. Meanwhile, oh god, the Widow Mines.
Both Widow Mines connect.
Yeah, the Widow Mines, they did not move from where they were last time, Oreo. And 2 more mutas get picked off.
It's like, I'm calling your bluff. I'm not bluffing.
Then he's like, what? Piglet had no idea. Oh, God. So, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate there is no Overseer with this. I mean, Numan-san's carapace is still on the way for that, so or he has to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, still trying to see whatever damage he can get done, but I don't think these Mutalisks are going to get any more workers. They can still control... Oreo still has map control with these Mutalisks. Not if he loses them to the Widow Mines. That's the third time? Question mark?
These Widow Mines have three kills each. Jesus, god damn it, Oreo. Every time.
And not just 3 kills each. I mean, how softened up were they that a Thor or a missile turret was able to kill a couple more of those Mutas? Jesus.
Oh boy, one.
Okay, really one for now.
For now. That's the thing. Like, or like 7 mutas. Like, it's expensive. Like, these are expensive losses that Oreo is sustaining here. So, oh god, he has to be a little bit more careful with his muta control. What I will say is that he has at least been keeping Piglet at home, so he hasn't had to worry about too much harassment. He's been able to drone up quite nicely. So, Oreo, he's like, he's been able to keep up when it comes to the tech.
Definitely. And it's actually a very interesting tech choice from him. Unlike Peppy that we saw yesterday, who went for more of a greater Spire reaction to the mech play, Oreo is going for Mutiling Bane plus Ultras. Eventually we'll get the Ultras, but I mean the Cavern's already done.
Yeah, I mean, kindness plating is on the way, he's just working on those upgrades before he commits into those ultras, which can be very expensive. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely a way to approach this matchup. Again, a lot of this will come down to these infestors. I think thankfully for Oreo, there aren't too many tanks. I mean, they are, but they're spread out a little bit. So again, it's all about them engagements. He keeps trying to go for those baiting run bys, by the way.
Yeah. Can't blame him. They are some of the most effective harassment tools you get in the late game of Zerg.
Yeah, at the moment he hasn't been able to get in yet, and a lot of that is because of these siege tanks.
Jeez. Oreo, you gotta realize, he ain't gonna budge.
Yeah.
Kills the supply depot, I guess.
He does get a depot for like 10 banelings, I guess. That's great. It's beautiful. But more importantly, he's cleaning up some supply. We have 5 more infestors on the way. A lot of infestors, mate.
Your Parasite did finish up. I'm just waiting. Right now, Oreo is just sort of waiting for Piglet to move on the map. Piglet has a very well fortified position, but can't really do much when the tanks are on siege or if he doesn't have his Hellbats protecting them. And Oreo is already setting up for that. Look at that creep spread on the minimap. This
is the biggest difference between Oreo and every other Zerg player in the region. His creep spread is insane, and we see what happens when there aren't any Hellions on the map to stop that. Like, the creep is all over the place. Every single base is being taken. Both center bases have been taken by Oreo as well. When Piglet moves out, he has a lot to move through. Lots to just, to maneuver.
Pretty much. There's going to be a lot of scans, and on top of that, there's going to be a lot of time that Oreo can buy himself. He basically has the sensor towers that Piglet has, but they're better.
Yeah, but they're larger in every single way. Finally, the creep is being dealt with a little bit. We have this Hellion run by here towards the north. We got the BCs towards the south. BCs have to be careful not to be caught out as the mutas are going to meet up.
They don't have teleport! They don't have teleport!
Oh, they do not have teleport, and every single BC will get cleaned up.
Just like so. Hellbats are clearing up some creep. Unfortunately for them, there weren't actually any drones by this base yet, so it can't really do much economic damage. But at least Piglet now knows that's a base that I need to take care of, and he is definitely in position to do so, just looking at how close those bases are. His base to Oreo's base.
Exactly, and now this is a point of contention. Finally, Piglet is trying to take a 5th. Oreo, there's no creep there. He doesn't have vision, but he cannot let this go up for free. His goal here is to starve out his opponent. You can't do that if you're not starving them out.
Yeah. There's a difference between malnourishment and starvation.
Meanwhile, you want to Oreo's
setting up.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he knows that the base is there. I think he was actually just trying to go for a bit of a surround, the flank, but nonetheless, it will work out. There goes the neural parasites. The banelings are being dealt with by the tanks, but there's nothing to stop the Thors anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Nice neural parasites. The one ultra does go in, but it does get made short work of. At the same time, we do have the mutas trying to harass towards the south. They do get cleaned up as well. So that was a lot of supply for Oreo, but he remaxes with ultras.
Yeah, he had, what, a 7k mineral bank earlier on, 3k gas. It was a very inefficient trade for the Zerg, but look at how many bases he's got. Think about how long he's had those bases mining.
Yes, exactly. He can kind of afford those trades, kind of. Unfortunately, this base is becoming a planetary, but it's also much more vulnerable. It isn't anywhere near as well defended as some of the other fringe bases. So this is still a point of contention here for these two players. Again, we're just waiting for the ultras to finish up, and then we're just going to be diving on in.
Well, I'm not sure who this choke point favors, honestly. Like, in theory, you think it favors, say, a Terran player because of tanks, right? And there's no creep there, but at the same time, it's kind of a choke point, but also very vulnerable to a surround.
It is, especially here from the south as well. Unfortunately, that's not what Oreo is going for. He's going for a massive bailing run by towards that planetary, and now the ultras are coming in.
And the Thors are not here to provide a buffer. The Hellbats will slow down the Ultralisk a little bit. Neural Parasite will basically disable some of these tanks, but the Ultras still bust through. They will clean up the siege line. The Thors are finally here to help out, but at this point, 110 Zerglings are on the way. The vast majority of the tanks were dealt with, and that was really the only scary thing Oreo had to worry about. These Zerglings, funnily enough, are going to be the most potent unit for Oreo.
Oreo is literally doing his best to just brute force this game. It's so inefficient. He can still kind of afford it, but oh god, these trades are so hard to look at. Jesus, he lost every single infestor and ultra in that last engagement. His army is whittled down to just Ling Bane. It can still work because there aren't too many Hellbats with this, and the Lings are going to close the distance.
Mate, you say it's hard to look at as a Zerg player because of how inefficient Oreo is trading. It's hard to look at as a Terran player.
Yeah.
Because despite how inefficient it is, so much damage is still being gotten. So much value is still being gotten.
And here we go, the Banelings crash into the tanks and Thors, and again, they kill a bunch of army, and look at this, like, Piglet is
The rest of the Lings are still alive. They're surrounding the tanks, and Piglet can still survive, but he's lost another 18 SCVs. He's really starting to starve.
Again, look at his mineral bank. It's non-existent, mate. Like, he's really struggling to remax. Previously, by the time Oreo remaxed, Piglet, he was able to make 60 supply, and now he's down even further. Oh, boy.
To be fair, Piglet has left a lot of his bases unmining, a little bit oversaturated in some of his older bases, so yeah, he doesn't quite have that mineral bank that you would like to have as a Zerg player, but at the same time, he's still got, what, almost twice the mineral income? 3 times the gas income.
Oh yeah, just mate, look at the income advantage graph here for Oreo. It's just all coming up blue this entire game. Now he has remaxed once again. Now this is a more fortified choke point.
I don't think Oreo should try to brute force there, especially since again, he's kind of spent his bank. He should wait a little while.
Wait or just hit the south. You know, mate, there's 3 tanks. There's 3 tanks in a big open area. You know, it's a beautiful base to take. But mate, if you want to say Oreo don't brute force your way through this, mate, he's gonna do it. He's oh god.
He is like that rebellious kid. Reverse psychology, you want to call it that?
Sure, if that. Oh boy.
Oreo, I want you to brute force your way through that choke point.
Hopefully he heard that.
Don't tell me what to do.
Hopefully he heard that and he goes for this southern base instead. Jesus Christ. And into the natural, right? You know, just avoid all this nonsense entirely because this...
Oh, everything is besieged. Oh, not everything. Never mind.
A lot of it is on...
Never
mind. He's sieging up the rest. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully Oreo isn't tunnel visioning too much. I mean, at least behind this, he is still working on some upgrades, I guess, for a big, like, Brood Lord switch at some point, which would be great, right? Like, look at all these tanks.
Absolutely. Not a lot of Thors there that can really threaten the Brute Lords. three blinding clouds. Honestly, is all I'm thinking of right now. Like,
I didn't want to say it, but it was the same like story with Peppy and the same story here, where like instead of a bunch of infestors, if we had a bunch of vipers, like it would be so much easier to push in here. Oh god.
Yeah, but then
The
you have to
mutas are
control
still alive, by the way.
Spellcasters. They what?
Yeah, they're still alive from earlier. This guy did
Might
not.
as well get rid of them and
I was gonna say,
corrupt us into brute lords. He has a great aspire.
I was gonna say he did not. He did not all army hockey earlier. I'm impressed. Damn.
Ah.
Well, he should have to get rid of them.
You're like, I wish I had that power to not all army hockey.
I don't, mate. You gotta get rid of the mutas, mate. But we'll see.
You all army click.
Yeah, we'll see as the queens are rotating towards the south, and this should give Oreo a better picture of what's happening. The problem is that, like, we've been talking to ourselves for the past couple of minutes, and Piglet has remaxed.
Have we?
Like, this is kind of scary. What is happening here? Like, Oreo has given Piglet so much time.
Piglet has remaxed and has a much larger army. He's really saying, you know what? I may have less mining income, but who the hell cares? I'm gonna make use of these SCVs that died. They didn't die in vain, so I'm gonna get a larger army than you can. Mules are pretty good. I don't even need to use that many mules.
Oh boy, exactly. I mean, you know, he wants to expand. He's trying. I mean, he's clearing up some creep down here towards the south. Speaking of, this is exactly where Oreo is, and I love this. Right, the queens are being attacked by this like small army, and this is pulling Oreo over. Piglet is forcing Oreo to do what we wanted.
Yeah. It's like if you're Piglet, you may be thinking, ah, yes, I'm finally don't have to worry about that army towards the north. Well, now you have to worry about it towards the south. Or not miss. Piglet goes back.
Yeah, we spoke too soon, as we do see that he's exposing himself a little bit. Again, he wants a base. He wants to slowly get rid of these hatcheries of Oreo. But can he do it? Oreo, he's diving in once again. Oh, God.
Yeah, the Banelings get taken out before they can connect with anything. The Infestors are taken out. That was such a good trade here for Piglet. Once again, Oreo, I'm just saying, a couple of Vipers.
Nah, mate.
Clouds.
Mate, that was perfectly fine for Oreo because, sure, he lost a lot of army for free. He lost a lot of Infestors, Thors, and Banelings, but he just made up room for Broodlords.
True.
And the problem is that Piglet didn't lose any army there, so he cannot make Thors right now. And you know as well as anyone that mech takes a long time to remax. Like, if you lose one big battle, like, that's gonna be it, mate.
Really will be a couple more Thors on the way, but as he was saying, these are gonna be the only Thors left, and they're not exactly in position. Getting rid of the Mutalists finally.
The meters do go down. Broodlords are finally finishing up.
The Broodlords.
He does see the Corruptor Zone again. Like, these Thors are so important for Piglet. Oh my god. He's so lucky that he had a little bit of spare room to make that supply.
I feel like Piglet has enough now.
Yeah.
But we'll see. The Thors are quite in position. A lot of them are on the low ground. Some of them being distracted by the Corruptors. The Broodlords are fighting the Thors, which are actually useful because the tanks are getting friendly fire damage on them.
That they are. Meanwhile, the Thors that we saw, where are they? They're still here in the back line because of that. All of these tanks are going down to the Broodlords.
That they are. The Thors are finally getting in position, though. And the tanks aren't sieged up, so they won't be causing any friendly fire. But is that really going to matter? Oreo has so many Broodlords, and he's got so many upgrades on them, too.
That he does, but now they're finally being focused down by the Thors. Broodlords are going down, but look at that remax with Lings, mate. He's closing the distance. He's got to get the surround.
I always love it when a game goes full circle. When a Terran player goes mass Marines in the late game, when a Zerg player goes mass Zergling in the late game, mass Zealots in the late game for Protoss. GG, Oreo takes game number 1.
GG, well played, and this is why.
Oh my lord!
This is why. Fun fact: when I was talking to Oreo yesterday, it was like, "Ooh, okay, like who are you scared of?" Oreo's like, "Okay, for ANZ champs, I'm scared of Probe and Pez." I'm like, "What about Seeker and Piglet?" He's like, "Nah, mate, Bring him on, mate. Bring him on.
Give me more Terran players.
Give me more Terran.
And I tell you what, he has been doing a couple of customs with Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Notorious mech player.
True. Very true. Mate, if you want to go up against mech, you play against Neo, mate.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. But GG, Oreo takes the first game again with his ultra greed, with very inefficient trades, but because of his greed, he could afford to play that style. You know, if you play like that, but again, you don't have the same creep spread, or you don't have the same base count, like, it just falls on its face.
Really does. That's why we all look to Oreo. He's a player who will dominate the map, no matter what the matchup. Super important. As you were saying, if you're playing that greedy, inefficient style of Zerg.
Yeah, exactly. He was taking full advantage of what Piglet was allowing him to do, you know, giving him the map control. Mate, you give Oreo an inch, he'll take the entire map, mate. And with that, we are now going to be getting ready to dive into game numero dos. As we just set things up here. Beautiful.
Beautiful. And feels bad, man.
Hmm?
I looked at the bracket here, and I saw that Pez got to walk over against Thuklau. And now Thuklau is messaging me. I thought the qualifier started in an hour.
Yeah, that's why I told you to message Ender. Did Ender? Okay, thankfully Ender.
Yeah, I told
because
Ender.
Because before I disconnected, Ender messaged me. He's like, "Hey, does this start in an hour?" And I was like, "No, it doesn't." And it's like, "You've been disconnected from BattleNet." It's like, "No, I can't message Ender." Like, oh, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. So I had to get Yaku on that. God.
I am the delivery man. The message man.
Yes. By the way, a fun fact when it comes to the admin for this event, the admin is not in game. No, not at all. He is in the ANZ Champs Discord server. Oh, so we're just diving on in.
That we are here, continuing our TVZ, best of 3. On a map that I can't help but favor Zergan.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about mech on a map like Jagannatha, but
yeah,
we'll
I mean, it's one of those things where I haven't really seen mech on Jagannatha, so I can't really say how effective it is. But in theory, I'm thinking like, well, it's not a bad map to turtle on. If you want to play a slower siege mech style, potentially. We'll see if Oreo even goes for that, as he did do something a little bit different yesterday when he played on Jagannatha, at least when it came to his TVZs. Here we are now on, as we were saying, Jagannatha, KBB LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have the red Terran player coming down from the land of that sort of Sydney-ish area. Not quite Sydney proper, but around that sort of land. He is going to be representing Opus V, as well as the entire clan of Krenzel. He is Piglet El Chantito.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Australian Zerg player. He is blue, representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Oreo.
Just catching up on chat here. He's like, yeah, you can't really play mech against a Zerg player who's decent like Oreo.
Whoa! The shade being thrown out.
Ooh.
Funada Demi in the chat. It is one of those things where Oreo has been on the rise, and it was also one of those things where I was a little bit I don't know if I want to say sad. I did want to see Oreo versus Probe in ANZ Champs. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to see that. At the same time, Oreo's worst matchup is against Protoss. There's a reason why he's scared of both Probe and Pez. But looking at today's bracket, he's on the opposite side of pairs. They're not going to be facing each other.
They won't be. I gotta be very honest though, looking at the lower half of the bracket, Quantel, otherwise known as Oreo's Kryptonite, is still there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they will only, if they face, they will only face in the qualifying match, which is a best of 5, and I do think Oreo has it in him to take a 3-1 or a 3-2. Yeah, 3-2. It's just in those best of 3s, anything can happen.
Yeah, Quantel is going to be the one to beat for whoever wins in this series, because again, if you look at the lower half of the bracket, it's basically Quantel, Piglet, and Oreo. Like those three, those are the big 3 names down there.
Everybody struggles against Quantel. Like, even if you win the series, everybody struggles a little bit against Quantel. Even Risky tweeted last night, like, mate, I won, but goddamn, I'm upset at myself for dropping a map.
Yeah.
That Quantel guy, man. That Quantel.
Yeah, the soul was real. Raza made a tweet making fun of him actually after that. He copy-pasted the same tweet except put TVT instead of ZvT. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I should.
Shaking my head, Risky, shaking my head. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Obviously, exclamation mark be in the chat if you want to have a look at the bracket. There are some pretty big series going on right now. The biggest one probably being Ender versus Zane. I think that's a rematch, if I'm not mistaken, from yesterday.
Yeah. Not from yesterday, but from last season, I want to say. Yeah, because yesterday it was Piglet versus Zane.
True.
We had Piglet versus Ender, and then Piglet versus Zane.
Okay, fair. That's what I was thinking. So yeah, honestly, that's a pretty spicy matchup. I would love to try and maybe even catch the tail end of that, but we'll see what happens after this. Meanwhile, more of what we've seen in the past. We do have a fusion core behind this for that BC.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a little bit surprised. We did see yesterday when Piglet played on Jagannatha, he went for a very different style. He went for a bit of a Cyclone drop like this, but then he went straight into Marine Mine medevac. Going for the Fusion Core will, once again, set him up to go for Mech. He could go with Bio behind that, but we'll see.
Mate, this has been unscouted, and Oreo has been very greedy. His Lings are over at the third base. The Queen in the main will go down. Fun fact as well, because this Queen is going down, this will affect the defense of the BC.
It really will. Just that much less anti-air. Gonna come into play. 6 drones have already gone down. But to be fair, Oreo is repositioning all of his queens.
Yeah, he's trying to catch this medevac if he can. Unfortunately, not quite. BC is in production. The queens move on forward. And thankfully, we do have a couple more queens on the way. Oh my god.
That's an armory, and he has not stopped the heli in production.
Oh boy. So we're going to be seeing a Hellbat timing with that BC. What's important is that this drop out on the map is still alive as well, so that will also be reinforced by said Hellbats. This is going to be a very powerful push.
Yeah, the Cyclone is not a unit you necessarily need when you go for a Hellbat timing like this, but it's always better to have the Cyclone than not. If you're able to lock on somebody high energy queens and just take them out of commission, you go for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm scared because Oreo right now, he's banking a lot because he has a Spire on the way. Now his Baneliness is on the way. You know what? The Baneliness was necessary to defend against the Hellbats earlier.
Really was. It's not even halfway done. It's not even a quarter way done. I'm really terrified right now for Oreo. He's got a lot of queens and they do have energy on them, but eventually they're gonna melt to the Hellbats.
Oh god, that they are. Lings are in production, but they're not done yet. The queens are falling one after the other. The boys are forced off the line, and once every queen goes down, even if the ground army gets dealt with, like, there's still the BC to worry about.
There's no answer to BCs yet. The Spire will finish up, though, and Oreo has a bit of a bank. Could try to make some mutas, I suppose?
It all depends on how many workers goes down here in the main base. If too many fall, that is it. That's going to be game, and they're getting pinned in. Oh, God.
Back into a corner, 17-18. More than a mineral line of workers gets taken out Even the spawning pool is under threat.
Yeah, exactly. Oreo, he was in the dark this entire time, and it looks like we are going to be going to the ace match because Piglet has torn Oreo apart. He had no idea that the Hellbats were on the way. He never saw the armory, and because of that, mate, it is costing him this game.
Yes, like so. The BC finally gets dealt with, but 29 workers have gone down. Oreo is almost 20 workers behind. The third base gets taken out. The main base gets taken out, actually.
The spawning pool as well, so no Lings are going to be in production, only Mutas. And what do we have at home? We have Thors and Widowmines, mate.
I guess Mech is pretty effective on Jagannatha if you cripple your Zerg opponent.
Oh my god, exactly. As we even have a mule. Ooh, the disrespect.
GG. Kind of thought that mule would be for repair, but yeah, then I realized, wait, those Hellions are way too far away.
Yeah. Oh my god. Piglet showing that, mate, I don't just have to sit back at home and max out and rely on this slow mech army. I have something else up my sleeve as well.
Yeah. Who says you need to go for a slow siege mech style, you know? Which, to be fair, I think if the game lasted longer, that's what Piglet would have gone into, but very active from the start of the game, and it paid off big time.
It really did. And I honestly, I appreciate that from Piglet, because I was honestly concerned that he was going to, again, slow things down with mech, and we saw what happened in game number 1, right? And clearly, based off of this build and this opener, Piglet knew that as well. He was like, oh my god, like, I cannot let the game go like that again. Like, that was brutal. I just couldn't do anything in game number 1. So I need to be the active, I need to be the aggressor here to gain some momentum.
The one Zerg player who could take it to the late game against Piglet.
You say the one. I mean, you know, like
Peppy did pretty well in the late game.
He did well. You know, we also have the Southeast Asian Zerg players. You know, like, to be fair, they have different approaches to it, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, they also didn't necessarily want to go into the late game.
True.
They were like, I'm gonna try to end this in the mid game, and they were like, oh, I guess we're playing late game now. Well. But, speaking of late game, we are going to be concluding this best of 3 series here on... Are you drinking tequila? Is that what
What?
Here on 2000 Atmospheres LE, which, fun fact, is around the time both of these players were born. In the bottom left-hand corner map, swinging all the way in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player coming out from the land of Brisbane. He is the king of Brisbane, born in 2000. He is going to be representing our very own CranKy Ducklings. He's going to make his opponents go, uh-oh, it's Oreo.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Australian Terran player. He is red, representing Team Opus V, tying up the series 1-1 in the previous game. Can he pull it off, mate? It is Piglet. Oh.
My eyes are glued to that production tab.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Oreo is a little bit paranoid right now. He just sent out his overlords looking for proxies just in case Piglet was going to try and pull a fast one on him.
Which he isn't yet.
Not yet.
See what time he grabs that fusion core.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, I say hopefully, yeah, I'll stick with that. Hopefully, Oreo isn't anywhere near as greedy as he was in the first 2 games. Because, again, game number 2, he opened up just like game 1, where he just cuts as many links as possible, and it focuses mainly on queens, delays his brainliness, prioritizes the spire. Again, just kind of assuming that his opponent is being greedy and passive himself. So he does need to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, a little more vigilance on the map, a little bit more of a map presence, I suppose, for Oreo would do a whole lot. I feel like we tell that to most of our players.
In different aspects, but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
You say that really like Starduck, mate.
Yeah, Starduck's pretty fun, to be fair.
Oh,
yeah, we've never
God.
really had to say that to do Ryu.
It's true. Well, I mean, Ryu is known for his scouting, mate. He sees everything on the
Exactly,
map.
yeah.
Period. He plays the map.
That's why he's
axe,
El
mate.
Condor.
He is the eye in the sky, mate. Ooh. But yeah, God, I can't wait for Ryu on Monday.
Close qualifiers.
Yeah.
I wake up early for that.
The LATAM closed qualifiers are going to be on Monday. We are going to be covering that as well as every other qualifier. Speaking of, you know, this morning we were casting, I was casting the Latin America qualifier for DreamHack, and in, how many hours from now? 4 hours, well after the end of this qualifier, we are going to be diving into the closed qualifiers for Taiwan, Hong Kong.
Yeah, I was honestly a little bit worried that we were going to have to pull a bit of a China, but yeah, it does seem like we will have ample time to go into Taiwan, Hong Kong region.
Yeah, it was the same as last season. Obviously, if this qualifier was double limb, it'd be a different story. But because it is single limb, like it shouldn't like go too long.
Yeah. Especially since we have a bit of a shorter bracket today as well compared to yesterday.
Very true.
60 players, only 3 rounds in total.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. Maybe later on we can go through and figure out, you know, is there anyone missing? Any major players missing? Oh, is Pepe not here? I thought I saw him on the bracket against Justice Simon. Am I crazy?
He's there.
God,
Wait, so who the hell am I thinking of?
we can go over the bracket later. It's fine.
Vivid. No, wait, Vivid's there. Wait, what?
As at the
What am I
moment,
thinking of? Chappie.
we do have the 1-1-1 opener coming out here. We did have a fusion core, but still no BC, which is interesting.
It's for range libs! No.
There we go. First BC is on the way, but Piglet got a Banshee out first. I kind of like it. Once the Banshee reveals itself, like it could be telling Oreo a bit of a different story.
Yeah. Could be just making Oreo scratch his head a little bit. He didn't see any research on that tech lab. So he should sort of realize, okay, there's no cloak on this Banshee. There's not going to be cloak either. Because there was, he'd already be researching it.
Yeah, and this is dangerous because, mate, it's the same thing. We have an armory behind this. We have the BC on the way. There is one major difference, and that is that Oreo is playing it safe. He doesn't just have a mainliness, he also has a Roach Warren on the way.
I think this should work out for him, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Hellbats are decent against Roaches, but they're still technically not favored.
Oh yeah, they're not good at all against against Roaches. So Oreo, he's already got them on the way.
Yeah, I should probably clarify. Hellbats are good at surviving against Roaches. They're not good at killing Roaches at all.
And what's also important, I was a little bit afraid that we weren't going to see any spores. Mate, we have a spore in each base. A BC comes out as a bit of a surprise, but Oreo already has his queens in position. The boys, the Hellbats are pushing in towards the third base, but the Bailey's already morphing in, and Roaches are coming out.
Yeah, Piglet may be able to get some drone damage here by the third base location, but he's focusing a little too much on the queens. No split here as his attention was on his BCs. Oreo has already shut this down pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. The push gets forced back. Meanwhile, the BC is honestly dealing some damage. 6 drones have gone down. Not bad at all. It looks like the BC will survive, but there is a Spire on the way. So the BC, oh god, he has to be careful. He can't overstay his welcome.
Yeah, teleport's gonna come off cooldown in a couple of seconds. So he may be able to. He may decide to just jump in, see whatever damage he can get done, and when things get a little too spicy, just teleport right out.
Yeah, exactly, as he dips on in once again. What's also important is that we do have some commitment into Roaches here this time, as in like +1 range is on the way, we got Roach speed as well. So this is looking like, yeah, a more standard Roach Corruptor composition. More of what we saw from Pepe yesterday.
Yeah, it's definitely a much
oh god!
position against Mac, in particular TP Puppy! He does keep that BC alive, but it was close. It was right on top of all those queens.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Piglet, please.
One more volley, mate.
Yeah, thankfully the BC gets home just in time. The Hellions are doing a decent job at, again, just denying a bunch of this creep. The Queens were busy earlier trying to deal with that BC, so not focusing too much on the creep spread. Oh. And we're getting into the mid game, mate.
But now, yeah, we're getting into the mid game, and Oreo is unshackled. He doesn't have to worry about Piglet trying to establish map control again. I mean, maybe the Hellions a little bit, but as you would say, the Roach is already out. Already looking to deny every single one of these Hellions.
Oh yeah, mate, let's... Oreo getting some deja vu. Was this a ZvP? Shit, may as well be. Roach, Ravager, Queen, push. Let's go. Do we have any tanks here? We have 2 tanks on the high ground. Oh, that is going to make a difference here. That is going to be great for for Piglet's defense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure how I feel about this, since this is a ZvT. But then you pointed out there weren't a lot of tanks in position. The BCs, though, don't teleport across the map. What? Oh, they were trying to avoid the Corruptors.
Nah, man, I think that was a misclick. That wasn't necessary at all.
Look, I'm trying to save him here. I'm Piglet's PR guy right now, and I'm like, oh yes, no, he strategically retreated, and you're like, nah, mate, I see right through your bullshit.
Oh god. Meanwhile, those tanks are doing a lot of damage from the high ground. Because of these tanks, I do feel like Piglet will hold this, but he did lose a lot of workers and that third base.
Yeah, Oreo's continuing to reinforce here with Zerglings. He's losing the Zerglings. SCVs have gone down, but has Oreo sustained too many losses in his army? Roaches, they're not as expendable as, say, Lings or even Banelings, but at the same time, they kind of are. They're tier 1.5 unit, so...
Honestly, that was a good hold. Like, sure, Piglet, he lost workers, and sure, he's not really mining from his third base. But Piglet, it's not like he has an insane economy behind this, so it's a good hold from Piglet.
Yeah.
And because of that, the game will go on. Oreo is going to have to drone up, he's going to have to get more bases, expand a little bit more, and work on the next step.
Which is Ravagers.
Yeah.
No, apparently not.
Oh boy. Again, like, the tank positioning was insane by Piglet. It was beautiful. Like, they got so many kills. This one tank in the middle, 17 kills, mate. 11.
Mate.
It's insane.
It really is. See, when he teleported his BCs back to the natural base location, it was to draw the army into the tanks.
Awful, mate, awful. We can't see with tasteosis right now? What's going on? I'm gonna say tasteless specifically, right? Oh god. Copian, mate.
Listen, I got a credit for my PR class.
True. Did happen. Oh god. Meanwhile, we do see Oreo again, trying to posture outside the base of Piglet. He's doing a couple of Ravagers in the process, so Oreo has to be careful. What's important, though, is that he is keeping Piglet's attention at home, and he is expanding behind this.
Yeah. Once again, he's trying to dominate the map like he likes to do, Oreo does.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he's trading a lot sooner than a typical ZvT game we see from him. Doesn't quite have... Like, it kind of has the worker count, but doesn't quite have the bank, doesn't quite have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Ravagers are very gas intensive. If you look at the units lost tab, we see how much more gas Oreo has lost compared to Piglet.
Jesus Christ.
Can't afford to keep brute forcing his way into that third base.
Man, you say that, but he's gonna keep doing it. Like, game number one, the inefficiency from Oreo was crazy, and why not do it
Drones?
again?
Question mark?
Yeah, they wanted to see the world before they had to spend their entire life in servitude, like just mining forever, They're
taking their union allocated vacation. Even Piglet can't believe it. He scans it, he's like, drones? Question mark?
Oh god, aye. But here we go. Oreo is maxed out. He's working on Hive, working on those infestors again, and now he has to slowly trade out. Oh, Jesus Christ! Slowly trade out his roaches, his ravagers, his banelings, and get into something a little bit better.
Slowly.
When I say slowly, I mean in one big fight. Just one glorious fireball of death.
Yeah.
Oh no! Okay, it's okay. Baneling Suite just finished up. Jesus, I was worried for a moment.
As was I.
Oh god.
Oh, the Banelings on the front! And that's not exactly where you want the Banelings to be at when there's that many tanks. You want to allow the Ravagers to take a couple of shots and then allow the Banelings to come up from behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, again, like, there's a very nice tank spread here by Piglet, but we didn't expect Oreo to necessarily win here or anything. Just, like, take down a couple of tanks if he's lucky. Oh my god, he's crazy. He's making Vipers. It's happening.
He's listening to us.
A little bit. No, but, like, this is great. Like, there we go. A couple more Vipers on the way. Let's go.
Yeah, not gonna take too long for him to suck up that energy. Just needs to deal. It really feels like he just needs to deal with the siege up tanks, and then he can allow the Ravagers to go ham on top of the Hellbats and the Cyclones.
Yeah, exactly. Or make room for the Ultras or the Broodlords or anything. Like, there's just so much value to be had there with those Vipers. Meanwhile, Piglet, it is his turn to move out. He is maxed out for the first time in this entire series. His mech army can move out across the map.
Yeah, and it's a very formidable mech army too, since Oreo mostly just has Ravagers and Banelings. It's positioning them very, very well, keeping them as tightly packed up as possible.
Oh god, getting ready for a surround even. And there are no Thors here, the Vipers are diving in.
And they do get a blinding clouds! All of the Banelings are body blocked!
Ah! Finally, the Banelings.
Do get in.
They do get in. Every single tank will go down, and with the death of all the tanks, now there's nothing to stop the Roaches and the Ravagers from engulfing the rest of the army.
You know, it's important to note, Oreo, he's traded a lot of Ravagers in that fight. 62 Lings are on the way. A single Ultra as well. Fortunately, he is supply blocked.
Oh god, just a little bit. As there we go, a couple more tanks get picked off that were left behind. We do have Piglet taking a fifth base. This is important. There we go, Oreo does spot it. He does see it with these things, and he knows what his next target is.
Straightforward, and oh, it's not a planetary!
No.
So it can lift up, but
it can lift
vulnerable to the Corruptors if it does.
Yeah, it can lift up into Corruptors, mate. Oh no. As the CC is slowly going, I say slowly, quickly going down with that caustic spray.
Yeah, no, Oreo doesn't even need that caustic spray. The CC is going to be in the dead air where no SCV can repair it. Ay.
Yeah, it does go down. Meanwhile, we do see Oreo just rolling on in with his Ultras, with his Lings and his Banes. He gets into the middle line. The CC almost goes down.
Almost, but not quite. A couple of Biles pick up some SCVs. 220 of them have gone down. And at this position, I wouldn't be too worried for Oreo, but at the same time, it could be a blessing in disguise for Piglet. Probably not after losing that third orbital command, or fourth orbital command, I imagine. Because he won't have that much energy for mules, but at the same time, Terran can definitely afford to be down on workers, because it allowed him to get a much higher army supply. Yeah,
at the moment, it's okay. It's okay for Piglet. I also really love that he was in the middle of expanding, and then he just turned right around, and because of that, he will save his CC. He knew...
made it.
Yeah, he knew that his, this area was under threat. And if he did try to expand there, it just wasn't going to work out for him, so he's just flying all the way over to the other side of the map. Unfortunately, Creep is slowly being spread there.
Imagine the Creep blocks that CC from landing. The CC still has a little ways to go. Creep is already getting into that position. Nice Bile, 6 out of tank.
God. Meanwhile, the Creep is finally being dealt with. Yeah, these Vipers have to be careful. They still need a lot more energy if they want to be effective, as they do turn around and suck on some bases. Tanks are unsieged. Ooh.
But tanks are also sieged.
True.
Checkmate.
And I'm really worried because I feel like in the next fight, Oreo, after he loses a bunch of Ling Bane Ravager, does he have a Great Aspire? He does not, never mind.
He neglected it this game.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, a switch into Broodlords would be amazing. But he needs the opportune moment. He also needs the tech.
Yeah, he doesn't have that many Cyclones.
Yeah, and there's no Thors. It's just, look how many tanks there are, mate.
Way too much of them. The Vipers are coming close, but they do get sniped by the Cyclones. 3 very good Blinding Clouds, but that is not going to be enough. Look how many tanks Piglet has got. He can pack all of his tanks into a ball, siege them all up at once, and Oreo would still need more than 4 Vipers worth of Blinding Clouds.
Maybe. I'm a little bit worried because Oreo is doing that brute forcing again. He just made a massive wave of infestors, and he has ultras on the way as well. Like, he wants to fight this head on without Vipers because he just lost all his Vipers. So it's going to be so difficult. And this time, Oreo doesn't have a massive bank behind it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that was one inefficient trade too many for Oreo. Piglet is on the counteroffensive.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at this spread of tanks. It is beautiful, mate. There's no way for Oreo to really engage into this. Finally, Vipers are being remade, but it's going to take a while, and Oreo is in the process of losing 2 hatcheries.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, behind this, Piglet is expanding as well. 5th base, so crucial here for him. Oreo's getting ready for an engagement. He's getting ready for a round, but again, he needs a little bit more time. Ooh, I like this a little bit more. Going for a bit of a run by. But the BCs.
An Ultralisk run by, no less. Yeah, the BCs will chase that down. The Thors will chase them away. Space is finally going to fall.
Yeah, the base does go down, but now Oreo is getting ready. He's sucking on those buildings. Once he has enough energy, it is going to be go time. You could argue Piglet is overstaying his welcome a little bit here.
A little bit, but at the same time, with how spread out these tanks are, they are kind of containing Oreo for so long.
That they are. We do have a couple of Blinding Clouds being thrown down. Is it going to be enough? Ooh, it looks like it is not. Again, the spread is so good.
Even a Friendly Fire. You can't exactly force Friendly Fire with Ultralisk because they're that big of a target. GG is called. Piglet takes game number 3, and this series 2-1. What do we always say, Light? When Piglet is on point, he looks completely unstoppable. Oreo did stop him in one of these maps and got pretty close in another, but
yeah.
This is a Chanchito who is in form.
GG, well played. Congratulations, Piglet, taking down, you could argue, the strongest player in his side of the brackets. And that game, as we saw, like, Game 1, Oreo's style worked because he had full map control and he had all of these bases. He had so much resources to, again, just throw away so many units there. Here in Game 3, that wasn't the case. We saw him struggling to remax after every single major engagement, and he was losing expensive units like his Vipers, like his Infestors, like his Ultras. It was just a little bit too much there. You could argue maybe a little bit impatient from Oreo.
That's what it was. Because it definitely felt like Oreo was playing the late game while he was still in the early mid game. It's like, I want to trade inefficiently, I want to remax it. It's like, oh wait, I'm still only on 5 bases that I am barely saturating.
Yeah, again, like, especially with those ultra pushes, like, ideally you want the Terran player to come to you, and then you meet them with ultras. Definitely. You don't want to push into these entrenched positions, right? And God, like,
as a wise man once said, never go into the boom boom.
I don't think a wise man said that. Oh God.
Well, an old man.
There you go. But yeah, GG, well played. Piglet does take the series, and he moves on in the bracket. And let's have a look where he ends up.
To face Vivid.
Yeah. GG. Congratulations, Vivid. He does take down nobody to move on to the next round. Of course, Quantel is moving on as well. And probably the biggest result as well behind all of this, Ender 2-0'd Zane.
Mate. I was favoring Ender there because not only because again he is the DreamHack Winter Champion, Ender does power up a little bit come winter, but also because Zane probably isn't too familiar with Ender's style. Maybe a little bit familiar with Mio Micah after last year, but probably not Ender.
Yeah.
And now Ender's waiting in a qualifying match to face most likely Pez, potentially Peppy or Justice Simon, both of them. I think can definitely take it to Pez.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I would go as far as to say it's probably going to be a Pez versus Ender semifinals,
Yeah,
or
that's most likely.
Qualifying match, I should say, and that is going to be spicy. I love me some PBZ.
Especially
But
when it's Pez in the PBC.
especially. But we should do Piglet justice, and now that he has taken down his opponent in Oreo, we should be following him into his next series against Vivid.